Have you come around to my belief that he's the number one danger cabinet member, or are you still on the fence here?
Well,
come on.
I'm still on the fence. I think there's a lot of risks out there.
What does he have to do? What else does he have to do?
He's going up the chart. He's going up the chart. I underestimated it. I'll give you that. That's a win I'll give you. But we'll see where things go with the DOJ.
We just need a couple. We need an outbreak.
Oh yeah, you're really thrilled by the performance of the DOD and Justice Department heads so far?
I want one win here. Give me one win.
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. We have a doubleheader today. I had Talman Smith, who's a New Orleanian who writes about economics, on to talk about the purges at the Fed, the attempted purge of Lisa Cook at the Fed. But there's been so much news, so much dark news. I like to bring on this guest for comedic news, but in this case, we're gonna find his sensitive side. It's the managing editor of the Bulwark, Sam Stein. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am well, all things considered. All right, we got a bunch of news we got to get to. So yesterday, a shooter opened fire during morning mass at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, killed 2 children, injured 17 others. The shooter is identified as a 23-year-old, likely trans or trans-identifying person, Robin Westman, who killed themselves. They left behind a trail of insane conspiracy theory-addled videos and writings. Don't really map on any ideological spectrum. I know you did a video on this yesterday, but just kind of after 24 hours, just wondering what your reactions are, or if you have anything new to say about this American Groundhog Day tragedy.
I mean, that's it. It's Groundhog Day. It's so customary in our social fabric at this point that its lack of extraordinariness is like the defining feature for me. I mean, I've been through this so many times journalistically now that I remember the first time, or one of the first times, that you kind of hustle in the newsroom. It's shocking. You get into order and you write on it, and then you try to think of how to process it. And now it processes itself. I guess the thing that's different for me is my kids are now of age where they are going through the process of preparing for things like this at their own schools. And that obviously takes it to a different personal level. And from a professional level,
yeah, that video of that kid saying, we did the shooting, we've done these drills in the classroom and know what we to do, but we've never done it at church. It's just like so gutting. I don't know.
That and also the way he's, I don't know. What's the good answer there? That and the way the kid talked about it, it was so methodical, so routine, almost like this was not a big deal. It was almost like he was describing like a basketball shooting drill. And you're like, oh man, this is just part of their life. The other thing that stood out, and I think Andrew Egger did a good job tackling this morning for Morning Shots, is just, I hate this. I really hate how right in the immediate aftermath of these things, it's so typical, but everyone's just sort of like looking for little chestnuts of news or bio or something from the manifesto that can just allow them to say, oh, this shooter was a Republican, or this shooter was a Democrat, or this shooter took some, medication that, trans kids take, or this shooter, read some sort of, anti, Muslim propaganda. And it's like the natural instinct to try to use this to further your political agenda. I find it sickening. I find it really grotesque, and I can't deal with it.
It's about I forget which, this tells you all you need to know. I forget which school shooting I wrote about this after. But I think it's like maybe the prime example of kind of the darkening of this human spirit in the country that we all have, and I have it. So I like it is. This is not a finger pointing thing. There seems to be like this natural instinct inside you that immediately goes to, I hope it was the other guys that did this one. And that's it's
awful.
That is just like, we have to deprogram ourselves from all of that. And it starts by acknowledging it. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to look at potentially underlying issues and trends and like that,
Sure.
and if you're at DHS, Elizabeth Newman, who's a friend of mine, this was her job at DHS, like looking at trends and trying to figure out domestic terror and other things, sure. This is not to let people off the hook for their ideological extremism if they have it, but it's just like as a culture, it just is a sign of a broken culture.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think you had a really good tweet, which means you probably outsourced it to someone else. But it was about how like they were looking into, trends in trans violence. And you're like, well, in Japan, so what was it like in Japan?
In Japan, there was one. So this guy, here's what happened. This guy, this chart was going around, and I saw it like 3 times before I tweeted it, which was like these right wing guys putting up this chart about like it was like an analysis of the percentage of a community that had committed a mass shooting, a shooting with more than 4 deaths or something, and it was like 0.07% of trans people have done it, but 0.05% of Asian men have done it, and 0.04% of white men, or whatever. I don't have it in front of me, but it's like my point was like, and it was just looking at the last 10 years of data. My point was like, in Japan, they've had 1 mass shooting in the last 10 years of data. In America, we're like trying to slice and dice the statistics to see if a group that we hate is more complicit in these than another group, and I feel like it kind of is missing the point.
You think, and it's just like there is one underlying feature through all of this: easy access to guns, and it's just like I'm at the place now where it's like you want to fortify schools, cool, do it, whatever, fuck it.
This guy shot through the window. Hannity was doing this thing last night about how we need metal detectors at every door. He didn't even go in the fucking door of the church.
Didn't go in the door, dude. You got. I mean, fortify I don't even care. Let them fortify the schools. Yeah. Arm the priests. Arm the nuns. Whatever you want to do. But if it doesn't take into account easy access to firearms by deranged people, then it's pointless. And go holistic. Do whatever you want, but it has to take that into account. And I don't know. I'm so burnt out about this stuff, and I find it so depressing. And I honestly do, you try to compartmentalize it, but then you send your kid off to school and you're like, in the back of your mind, you're just sort of like, don't want to get that call. And it goes away and you go through the day, but I feel it. I do.
I feel it too. All right, so maybe this is me not listening to our own advice, because I do have one crazy hot take about this that appealed to me.
Sure.
And so I want you to take me off the. I don't want to be an inverse Hannity here. So talk me off the ledge if I need to be talked off the ledge. Fellow YouTuber Destiny wrote this. Crazy that this guy was literally talking about his plans to shoot up this church for a month on the open internet, but Cash and Bondi are too busy going after imaginary MS-13 Home Depot workers. If only they were doing their jobs instead. Now, I want to say I don't like the exact specifics of that claim that Cash and Bondi could have stopped this. I don't want to endorse. But this guy was posting on this thing called Skibbity Farms, which is a spinoff of Kiwi Farms. You don't want to know.
I don't know. I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
If you're a boomer, you don't want to know about this, but it's essentially an updated 4chan. But the point is not wrong in the broad sense. Sure. That, like, we have a risk here in this country that, like, we have totally de-emphasized, like, this government has totally de-emphasized interest in looking at domestic terror and FBI, and the FBI is now, we're reorienting that towards, all immigration only. And we're firing people with expertise if they've said a mean thing about Donald Trump. And maybe any individual case can't be blamed on that, but at scale, it feels bad. It feels like it feels wrong. And I don't know, shouldn't that be something they have to answer for?
I suppose. I mean, like any law enforcement agency, it's, much of what you do is prioritization of resources and what you think is, the most important threat. And they've obviously torqued it in a direction towards immigration. And, just like in the Bush era, it was towards terrorism, right? And like, so that being said, and I just, gun violence is so pervasive that even if you were to put all your resources towards preventing it, I'm not sure. I mean, you obviously make progress, but like, This was, people have to understand, this was the second shooting in as many days in Minneapolis at a Catholic school. There was a shooting the day before outside a Catholic school in Minneapolis.
But I don't know if you were serious. So let's just play this out, though. If you were actually serious about this, serious about law and order and protecting the streets and all this stuff,
right?
I don't know. If so, we have fucking AI. We've had Palantir has access to the entire government now. If we have AI tools now, if somebody posts on Skibbity Farms, I'm going to shoot up a church.
Yeah,
shouldn't they at least get a call from somebody?
That's what red flag laws are for, and they have worked, and there's evidence that they do work, and you would like to think that we would try to extrapolate on that success and adopt it more nationally, and I'm all supportive for that. Ultimately, there's always going to be nut jobs who fall through the cracks, and the real common denominator through all this is not necessarily personality or gender or religion or anything like that. It's easy access to firearms. It's easy access to firearms. It's easy access to firearms. And until we grapple with that, you're going to have these instances. But yes, of course, you're right. You should be focusing, and our law enforcement should be focusing on clearly troubled people who are posting on these forums. That's an obvious place to look.
I'm sorry, I do have to push back on you, though, because the Secretary of Health and Human Services was on Fox News this morning.
Oh, God.
We're not going to play this audio because we have a different audio of him later, and people can only listen to.
We can only take so much.
It's an audio. This is an audio medium, as I said to you in Slack, and he is the most unappealing voice I've ever heard, I think.
Cheryl.
So having to hear it more than once in a podcast is torture, so we won't do it. But essentially what happens is Brian Kilmeade is trying to blame this on trans people, obviously.
Teed it right up for the guy.
And RFK, if he's going to investigate that, I don't know what RFK's role is really as HHS secretary, but okay. RFK doesn't really address it, but he kind of does by saying, no, actually what we're really going to look into is SSRIs, antidepressants, things of this nature, and we think that is the problem here.
What a quack. I think 10% of the country is on SSRIs.
Are there SSRIs in Japan? I don't know. Can we look into that?
Definitely not.
Is anyone in Japan on SSRIs?
No, the country is forbidden them. No, this is so ridiculous. The thing was, we're not playing the clip, but it was, Fox News literally just begging him to just go off on trans kids. Yeah. And he's just actually... Sorry, that's my Bobby. It just went on for SSRIs because that's what because he's a lunatic who believes that antidepressants are causing people to be violent, and I'm sure he has some crazed study that he's going to point to and be the mitochondrial challenges that our people are facing and all this. I can't even deal with it.
Let's not shoot our load on the mitochondrial challenges before we get to it.
Did I get ahead of it?
All right, you got a little bit ahead of us. We'll get to it. I mean, it's okay. Mitochondrial challenges, let's be fair, are kind of implicit in everything that's happening in our society. And so you can bring it up on any topic.
Sure.
So the other news that you have been on, you broke a little news on this yesterday, and our colleague Jonathan Cohn has a great summary of this in the Morning Shots newsletter this morning. People should sign up for if they're not getting it at thebulwark.com. But the CDC, I don't know if we're calling this it's a little bit of a purge and a little bit of a self-deportation, and it's craziness. But at the top of the Center for Disease Control, just total lunacy, insane. What
I don't even know how to describe it. What would you describe it if the top 4 or 5 officials at an agency just were you know what, we're done, and then mass resignation like that? The good news is that the CDC is not really that big a deal, and they don't really matter them. No, this is a calamity. People who have decades of subject matter expertise in infectious disease and other critical health issues just yesterday all were we are resigning. And the backstory, as far as we understand it, is that the CDC director, who's only been on the job for a couple of weeks, was essentially told by Kennedy, you need to get on board with my anti-vax crusade, because he's been restricting COVID vaccine booster vaccines, as well as preparing to, we expect in the month ahead, say that autism is caused by vaccinations. So you got to get on board or you're gone. And I want you to fire these people anyway. And she said no. And then these people resigned in protest anyway. Now, the scariest thing for me came as we were reporting it out. I was talking to a source of mine who knows some of the people who resigned. And this person was like, they had told me that they were going to stick around at the CDC, and I'm going to read this, to protect science until they were, quote, asked to do something that could hurt people, end quote. So the implication is that they believed they were asked to do something that would hurt people. And at that point, they resigned. We're at a place where our trusted public health officials, just think about this, our trusted public health officials, people who have worked on these issues more critically and aggressively than anyone else in our country, where they believe that our leadership is actively hurting the population. And wrapping your head around that is really hard. But I think that's where we're at.
And tying it to the first story, like, you can't kind of disentangle all this stuff. It's worth mentioning that it was 2 weeks ago, August 12th, maybe August 11th, a couple weeks ago, that a man fired hundreds of rounds of ammunition,
500
at the CDC headquarters. And he said part of it was over the fact that he expressed distrust of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah.
So you have like quacks at the top, forcing scientists and experts to put out information they know is, or they think is harmful. And so you have experts leaving the government, and then you have quacks outside trying to intimidate, threaten, these folks. Well, who would want to work there? Or like honestly, like why would you want to work there? Well, and it's not like this is a lucrative, position.
Well, that's what Conan and I were talking about this last night. I was like, well, who's going to take these jobs now, right? Like, so you have people who are running, like,
what are some of the jobs of the people?
Okay, just to go through it, the one that I know most was run by a guy named Dimitri Daskalakis, and I'm not going to get his actual title right, but essentially he was the point person for two big issues: monkeypox and COVID. And he was
appreciate his work on monkeypox. That was important for my community.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to get monkeypox. I don't know about you.
You weren't really at risk.
No, but
how many Charlie XCX songs can you name?
We're gonna
it's less than 3. I don't think you're at any risk of monkeypox. But continue.
I appreciate that. Anyways, so that's one, and then there was others. There's Dr. Dan Jerrigan, who's been a zoonotic infectious disease expert. He's been there for decades. The other person was Jen Layden. I'm unfamiliar with. She was at the Office of Public Health Data. And then there was Deborah Howery, who was the chief medical officer there.
Seems like an important job.
Yeah, kind of significant. These are big positions. And they're going to be okay. Like, they'll find work. They'll be fine. They're going to, continue to, operate in this field. I have no doubt about it. But if you are a scientist with any credibility, like, why the hell would you go into the CDC at this point? There's just no real reason to do it, right? Like, you would be forced to, defend quackery.
Yeah. I have an idea of why you might go. Let's say you've been walking through the airport and you've been looking at the children and you see a problem. And I want to play an audio about what that problem might be.
And I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like.
Okay.
I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements, and from their lack of social connection. And I know that that's not how our children are supposed to look.
What the fuck is this guy talking about? He's in the airport. He sees a child. He's like, you have a lack of social connection. You have too much mitochondrial DNA. Like, you have inflammation. But you're not a fucking doctor. What the fuck are you talking about? He doesn't know anything. This person, we're sticking with this person at the head of HHS, and we're losing the people that were, running the COVID and monkeypox programs. We're gonna trust the mitochondrial guy who self-diagnosed somebody at O'Hare because he saw a 7-year-old who was eating some ice cream and he thought he looked like he was socially disconnected and inflamed.
I have this vision of Bobby sitting there at the Einstein Bagels, staring at a 8-year-old kid, being like, he's moving funny. His mitochondrial fell off, Why is he not talking to another 8-year-old? Like
stop talking about other people's kids too. Do you know? Have you heard the story where he's in L.A.? What's the path everybody goes walking on in L.A.? Katie's gonna kill me. The producer guy, I can't think of the name. Anyway, whatever that hiking path is, everybody walks on in L.A. and he like goes up to the mom with the baby and the baby Bjorn, and he's like, don't vaccinate that child. It's like, stop talking about other people's children. You cannot, make any determinations about their health status based on a glance.
No, it's inherently weird. What is he talking about?
Runyon Canyon.
He also, this is a man who said in a deposition, I believe, that he is a brainworm. I just want to remind people of that. And I find
what does the brainworm do to your mitochondria?
Yeah, I was going to wonder, is the brainworm help the mitochondria or does it hurt? Can Bobby get on that? The other thing, on the serious note, I mean, this is all very serious, but like this guy is so dogmatic about his worldview and like he's full of it. And he's just now setting the tone for our entire country's health system. And it's really scary. Have you come around to now I need to make it about you and me. Okay. Have you come around to my belief that he's the number one danger cabinet member, or are you still on the fence here?
Well,
come on.
I'm still on the fence. I think there's a lot of risks out there.
What does he have to do? What else does he have to do?
He's going up the chart. He's going up the chart. Okay. He's definitely going up the list. I underestimated it. I'll give you that. That's a win I'll give you. But we'll see where things go with the DOJ.
We just need we need an outbreak.
Oh yeah, you're really thrilled by the performance of the DOD and Justice Department heads so far.
I want one win here. Give me one win.
How about Nutlick? Okay, I'm looking here. I googled mitochondrial diseases, like some symptoms, and
can you see it by just scanning a child's face?
Well, a couple of things is muscle weakness and low muscle tone. So I see Bobby looking at the 9-year-olds walking through and be like, can we get this guy down to golds? Let's get this kid down to golds. He's got to do a couple of shoulder presses before his mitochondrial.
When you look at Bobby, do you think that's a guy with good mitochondrial challenge?
Well, he's got muscle tone.
Totally.
His shape is weird.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. There are other purges happening. Our friend of the show, Stan Voiger, over at AEI, posted this yesterday. I thought this was very insightful. He writes, the Deputy Treasury Secretary, a CDC director, and the Defense Intelligence Agency director all got fired suddenly this week, and I think only the most committed news consumers noticed. That's a true statement, but it also kind of barely scratches the surface.
A Fed
board governor, the head of the BLS, the chief of staff of the Air Force, like 31 intel officials, including one CIA agent that Tulsi accidentally outed by including on the list. They
lost their clearance, but and then
you're right. They only lost their clearance. Well, isn't that not firing? Can you maintain your job? Is it an intelligence?
I think they get a paycheck, but they're not doing their job. And then you had the FEMA officials who wrote the open letter being like, we are so severely understaffed that it's awful. It's awful. What do you want me to say?
Readers of the Morning Shots newsletter noticed, but it is, I don't really know what to do about that, but it is, and this is kind of one of those things where it's just like, it's important sometimes to step back. It's like, this would be like it had Obama put some hack in charge of some, whatever cat, and like one of the top people resigned in protest. Like that's like the leading news story of the night,
right,
for a couple of days until something else happens, right? Till there's a shooting or something.
Well, it's just like government's going to fail on a profound level on multiple fronts, right? Like, I mean, I found it just a sort of small irony here, but like the National Guard cleaning up Washington, D.C. this week and picking up trash and all the custodial work. They're doing it because the National Park Service has been gutted. Like there's little ways in which this stuff matters, and then there's big ways in which this stuff matters. And God forbid, like some pandemic happens in the next, 6 months. God forbid. What are we going to do with the CDC that's completely gutted? Like that's going to be really problematic for obvious reasons.
I think die is what people are going to do. I do a little kind of foreign policy, kind of Dem party talk here before we get to the Dem stuff. One other news item that's I think massive that I think a lot of places are just bored with covering because it's just like another day in Ukraine. But yes, today, I guess, in Ukraine during the day, in the afternoon. Russia targeted central Kyiv with 32 missiles and about 600 drones. Death toll, as we're taping, is at least 18 people, including 4 children. The British consulate is wrecked. This is 2 weeks after we rolled out the red carpet for Putin in Alaska. This is just a monumental disaster for this administration's strategy towards Russia, which was obvious for anyone who listens to us, but it's worth saying plainly.
I mean, how did it go? I'm trying to remember the sequence of it. Trump had unveiled that he was going to come down harder on Putin. There's going to be sanctions. Then Putin says,
it was 90 days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's delay it. Then Putin's like, oh, let's meet. And then he meets, and then suddenly the sanctions are off the table. In fact, now it's on Ukraine to come to the table. And it was so predictable. It's so predictable. And are we going to continue the cycle again? Is Trump going to feign discuss with Putin, or should we just skip that step? I mean, because that's what's happening.
I don't know. Yeah, in some ways it's even more humiliating for him, I think. You would think, for anybody who pays attention and cares about this, because at some level, what we were worried about when he first came in, we being people who care about Ukraine, was that he was just going to say, take his ball and go home, and just be like, well, this is not our problem, kind of Homer Simpson into the bushes on this thing, and whatever, Europe, you figure it out.
Right.
And that hasn't really happened, we continue to sell weapons to Europe that gives it to Ukraine and stuff. And we're still kind of doing these negotiations and all that. So, but to what end, right? It's Putin is just basically saying, fuck you, haha, he's laughing in his face. Putin's laughing in his face. We met, and you talked about how we're going to skip the ceasefire, move straight to peace deal. There's no plans for even a meeting about a peace deal. And meanwhile, Putin's killing children in Kyiv.
Yeah. I mean, they were supposed to meet within hours and then days and now weeks. And now there's no plans for another meeting, trilateral meeting. And then we roll out the literal red carpet, and then Putin tells him that mail-in voting is fraudulent. So we got that. But it looks ridiculous. It looks weak. And I mean, I think I'm personally glad that we're not completely abandoning Ukraine, but this current stasis is terrible. And unless Trump does a totally unexpected 180 and decides to actually come down a little bit tougher on Russia for real, I don't see where we go from here. What's the next step? Or are we just going to continue in this limbo?
I think. Who could say? Well, I think we might know what the next step is. I want to give the counter view from the administration. Sure. Could we please play Trump's lead negotiator on the Russia-Ukraine situation?
And there's only one thing I wish for, that Nobel Committee finally gets its act together and realizes that you are the single finest candidate since this Nobel Award was ever talked about to receive that reward. Beyond your success is game-changing out in the world today. And I hope everybody one day wakes up and realizes that.
That's Steve Witkoff, the outer borough real estate man who's been negotiating all this. What do you think the 4 dead children in Kyiv today think about the application for the Nobel? Excuse me.
I'm sure they could give 2 shits. I will note, I make Andrew Egger say these things to me about my editing skills.
Okay.
My only wish is that you could get 5 Pulitzers for the way you've edited this morning show. There's actually, they've taken this obsequiousness to a different level. I don't know if you saw this, the ambassador nominee for Poland put out some statement the other day where he's like, you know what? He's too good for the Nobel Peace Prize. He's like, he doesn't deserve.
It's just an ornament. I like that. It's just an ornament. It's like, have you met Donald Trump? Does anybody like ornaments more than Donald Trump?
Have you seen the Oval recently? There's gold ornaments.
Donald
everywhere.
Trump would give all of Ukraine to Russia in a second if he could have that ornament. 1 second. You wouldn't even think about it.
He does have he's got a World Cup trophy, and he's got that gold thing from what's his face, Tim Cook. Yeah,
he'd throw in Lithuania. Just like, give me an ornament, and I'll hand it over. All right, let's talk about the Democrats' response. I had Jake Sullivan on yesterday. Was Biden's national security advisor. I was I mean, I don't know. There's really much to say about the Ukraine stuff. I kind of, gave him the neocon business a little bit about maybe we should have done a no-fly zone. But I thought his answers on all that I disagreed with him a little bit on the Ukraine stuff. They were understandable. I can at least understand the perspective that, we don't want to be in a shooting war with Russia.
Yeah.
Some of us 80s children are still a little chomping at the bit for that, actually. But I understand his perspective. I was interested more. A lot of the commenters were interested in our exchange about his old boss's age. Yeah. I think we can set that aside. I think the most actually relevant part of the discussion was about Israel.
Yeah.
And how somebody who was really not the point person, McGurk maybe or some others, but a point person for the Biden strategy in Israel, now saying that the dynamics have changed enough that he's actively telling Democratic politicians that it is defensible to have a position they should no longer provide weapons to Israel.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was really, I think it's fair to say he was the point person. He's a little late to the party, I would argue. And I think he's getting criticized for that. I think the fact is that the people in the Biden administration increasingly look back at how they handled that conflict and feel bits of regret, honestly, that they didn't try to leverage U.S. Weaponry in a more effective way. And I think they also really hate Bibi. They really hate Bibi. And I think one of the things that you heard of real anger was either yesterday or 2 days ago where Bibi was out there and being like, October 7th never would have happened if Donald Trump was president. I mean, that just really, really agitated them because they bent over backwards for the guy. They really did. They gave him almost everything he wanted
for nothing. Honestly, they got in kind of the sour spot on it, which is something I brought up with. Too.
Exactly. I think they're upset about that, but not to their credit, they should have recognized that this was always where it was going to end up. And I find it interesting to see the evolution, but it's also tragic, right? Like how many deaths could have been prevented if they had recognized that sooner? Who knows?
Yeah, I guess. And I think that his point that, that the environment is different now than it was when you have Hamas having just committed the worst terrorist attack in decades. And then you have Hezbollah on your other border. You have Iran, right? Like they've had success in the campaign against Hezbollah and Iran. And that success should have led them to a place where this could be, where you could have a more humanitarian response in Gaza because you have stability. And that's the opposite has happened, right? And I think that is a defensible point he's making. Mostly, I just think that like his point about forward looking, about how like if Israel doesn't change its government, the U.S. should change their posture towards them. Like it's been a really notable sea change among Democrats in a month.
Oh my God,
and to me, it's like the writing is on the wall about this, good, bad, or otherwise, for 2027.
Well, and
that's where things are going.
And I think that's to change focus a tiny bit. But if you're Netanyahu or if you're an Israeli politician, I mean, you have to recognize that you have a very short window here. Right, like if Democrats were ever to retake power, and who knows if there's ever going to be elections again? But
there'll be elections, but
who knows if they're going to be? Whatever. A future Democratic Party is not going to have similar relations like the Biden administration towards the Israeli government. It just will never happen again.
It's a different government, which is what Jake said. Unless it's a totally different government.
Yeah, but Israeli domestic politics are all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah, right.
And I think there's genuine anger, distrust, and a sea change is one way to describe it. I mean, it is a monumental shift. And I think for Jake Sullivan, who is just like the ultimate establishment foreign policy type of the Democratic Party, to say, yeah, we're at a place where you can condition weaponry to Israel. And that would have been unthinkable 2 or 3 years ago. That's like, that was a 10% proposition within Democratic politics. And now you have the Bernie Sanders resolution, and it's got like something close to 30 or so co-sponsors.
Yeah. My other big reaction to Jake, I just wanted to say, and I appreciate him coming on, was I thought he had a very aggressive posture towards China. And I know that we have some Democrats who listen to this. And I just think that that's a winner for Democrats. I'm not saying that they should, be Cold War Ronald Reagan, what Tim Miller would really want, saber rattling against China, but just
how many people do you want to bomb, Tim? Jeez.
I don't want to bomb China. Okay, I want to make the point that Trump has strengthened China and make it explicitly. And I don't feel like it gets made that explicitly all that much. And Jake made it very explicitly. And I think that even if regular people don't care that much about like the details of China policy, they do put like the vibes of it. Like it is one area where the Democrats could conceivably take back some like alpha vibes from Trump and be like, 100%. Trump has been weak and Trump has given all these gifts to China and it's hurting our country. And I think that that's a worthwhile vein to explore.
Completely agree. Agree. And you can just make it's like macro and micro, right? It's like China's eating our lunch. Trump has lost the AI race to them. Trump has pushed every other country into China's arms because of his tariffs. I think I saw some graphic about, trade with Africa where it's just like a complete, Chinese exports to Africa are shooting through the roof because of the tariffs. And then you can make it on the micro level, which is, and Will Sommer's got his false flag coming up on this, but it's like, it's causing a real uproar in the MAGA movement, which is this pledge to give 600,000 student visas to Chinese students. I mean, they're freaking out. Laura Ingraham
they should be. It's a little crazy. I'm like as liberal on immigration as that comes, and it's like 600,000 Chinese student visas. It feels like a lot.
And their argument for it is so. It's almost hard to fathom that this is the best they came up with, but like. I think their argument for it is like, well, we need them in the Ivy Leagues because if all the Americans went up to the Ivy Leagues, then the lesser academic institutions would not have enough students to operate. So it's like, basically, if you boil it down to, they're saying we need to bring in these Chinese students to keep the American students.
If you need more students in the Ivy Leagues, maybe we shouldn't be deporting people over op-eds and scaring them about their green cards. That might be a better thing to think about than just giving the Chinese impunity. Okay. Well, final topic. Dems butch up on that a little bit. I liked that. And Trump's, I think it's a big opportunity. There's one final thing about maybe a sign of concern that I just want about whether Democrats are going to butch up on that. Yeah. Sam, is your friend of mine, Dave Weigel, is covering the DNC meeting. We covered this at length on the next level. If you want to listen to that, but I did not get into. We missed one key element.
Oh God.
Which is that they released a fight song.
I saw this.
It goes DEMS, we rise, stronger together, blue skies, lift your voice, we are bold and true, onward Democrats, we shine blue.
I looked in their faces when they were writing that, and I detected some mitochondrial challenges.
Yeah. That's not exactly like playing neck in Tiger Stadium, I wouldn't say. All right.
Like, wait, just to make one quick point.
Go ahead.
They have one job or two. Raise money, build a party. Like, stop making songs. Win elections.
Raise money. Register voters. You're getting your ass kicked. Yeah. Shit on Donald Trump. Yeah, that's it.
Like, that's it. Mission. Simplify the mission. Let's talk. I don't care about land, being usurped. I don't care about fight songs. Just do those three things. Like, how hard can this be?
That's Sam Stein. He's our managing editor. Up next, we've got Talman Smith to do some econ and some Fed talk. It'll be good. Stick around for that.